Hello, welcome. If you're joining or watching for the first time, I'm Michael Bott. I'm an actor living not far from Stratford-upon-Avon, right in the middle of England, and this is an actor chat. It's a place where actors and creators can come to exchange views, share information, and generally hang out and have a natter from time to time. As far as actor chat is concerned, this week is pretty full on. Tomorrow we're having an open chat entitled Acting, It's Not a Career, It's a Lifestyle. That's going to be about maintaining professional and personal relationships and how to keep a positive mindset inside an acting career. That's at 2 o'clock tomorrow. 2 o'clock GMT, I'm afraid. Sorry if that's a bit earlier if you're in the States, but of the course there will be a recording, as there is with most of our actor chat shows. Then on Friday, we've got our weekly open house, a free-for-all chat where we never know quite what we're going to end up talking about. It's called Afternoon Tea at the Actor Chat House. Please feel free to join us as with any of our shows. Or to keep up with what's happening with us on Actor Chat. I mean, we're not always this busy, actually. You can search on Twitter for the hashtag Actor Chat. Or, of course, you could follow us. We're Actor Chat TV on Twitter. There. But today is very special because we've got an awesome guest for our first single-person actor interview that we're doing. I'm really pleased and proud to be able to welcome extraordinary actress, there you go, Mari, stand-up comic, creator, writer, performer of the hit web series Feathers and Toast, MHAIRI Morrison. And you're over there or over there. I don't know which side you're going to be when people are watching. But yes, okay. It doesn't matter. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What a great introduction. Should have been recording that. I can play it back when I'm having a bit of an off day. No, that's my best.
So you're in LA. How's the weather? Is that a stupid question?
No, darling. Well, today is blue skies. We occasionally have a cloudy day. It was cloudy the other day. But it makes for headline news when we all know it's going to be rain. You know, they tell us about 5 days in advance, 90% chance of rain on Sunday. And then when it happens, everyone talks about it. So it's actually so exciting when it is raining that you just have to stay inside and watch it. And today isn't one of those days. It's just blue sky.
Now, Mari, you've got a credit list that I think most actors would be pleased to look back over in terms of the spread of work you've done over the past 15 years or so. And I want to come back to that and go over that in a minute. But most of the people watching this, I presume, will know of you through your alter ego, Tallulah Grace of Feathers and Toast fame. But for those who don't know anything about that show, do you want to say a few words about that? Say a few words about Tallulah, how she came about and where people can go to watch it and that kind of stuff.
Sure. Tallulah Grace came out of, when I moved to Los Angeles, I began stand-up comedy. I'd never done stand-up before. And somebody came to see my show who is somebody that works in Paramount. And we went for lunch and he said, "Why do you want to be in LA?" And I said, "I want my own comedy show." And he suggested that I create my own character and build from there. So I spent several months developing Tallulah and then shot season 1 and it just sort of grew from there. So that's it. Basically, it's my clown character. And that comes from really having spent time at the school in Paris, Jacques Le Coq, that we learned a lot about clown and everyone having their sort of one inner clown, basically. And so I wanted to really find mine and work with that. So that's essentially the basis of Tallulah. Came about after about 6 months of improvisation and filming myself and writing and just kind of wanting it to be a very organic process. You know, because I wanted to create something funny, but that also could, right now I'm in the process of pitching the half-an-hour show. So I wanted a character that could go on and also be kind of dramatic, you know, have various various things going on. Anyway, I see you put the link. Thank you very much. It's feathersandtoast.com.
Yeah, yeah. I really advise anybody that hasn't seen the series to go and take a look. It's hysterical. It's very funny, and you'll get why we've got Mari on here, and very honoured to have her here. So, Mari, where are you born?
Oh, I was born in a town called Huntly in the northeast of Scotland. It's about an hour north of Aberdeen.
So, what about your parents? What do they do?
Darling,
say a bit about that.
They are the living rom-com, basically. Well, not so much the comedy bit, but the romance bit, because my mum is from Los Angeles, and she was hitchhiking with her sister in the 70s, and they met. My mum and my aunt met my dad just by chance in Stirling, and they were there for some festival, and they spent 2 days together, and then they wrote love letters every day for 8 months. And my dad proposed to her in one of the letters and flew to LA, and they got married here, and then moved straight to Scotland, and they're still together, very happy 40 years on. My dad's a cartoonist and my mum's a writer. And we grew up. I was born in Huntly, but after 4 years, I moved to a town called Banchory, which is the other side of Aberdeen, about 10 miles. I lived in the middle of nowhere.
Living in the middle of nowhere, what were the influences? Was it mostly your parents, or what did you grab hold of? What interested you?
Well, my dad always wanted to be an actor, and his dad had told him that it wasn't a serious profession and that he couldn't. So he went off and did art and things, which also, debatable whether that is more of a serious profession. But so my dad was in pantomimes when I was growing up. He was always playing the dame or the villain and things, and he loved the makeup, the wigs, the whole thing about it. And so he took me to acting classes when I was 7, and I really loved it. So then I started doing tap dancing and various other things. And so from a really young age, I was really, really into theatre and that sort of thing. I think probably having grown up in the middle of nowhere helped that, because you've got a lot of, you could walk in forests, you have more of a space, I guess, to live a bit of to let your imagination go.
That's fascinating. I love that. But obviously from an early age, you felt that this was the direction. There wasn't much else, it seemed, available to you, or was there something else that you thought I would like to do that? It was a...
Well, I was a runner when I was in like a teenager, and I always thought I could probably win the Olympics for Scotland. But I had a foot injury when I was 17 and couldn't. That was a mild thing, but that for sure I was not Olympic standard. But I did enjoy running, and I saw a performance of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat also when I was about 7 or 8, and I just loved it so much that, I was pretty, I went to Scottish Youth Theatre when I was 13 for the whole summer. And so from an early age, that was really my focus. Yeah.
Got that. But did something happen? Was anything, does it seem like a continuum to you, or did something happen that really, was there a point at which you decided that's what I'm going to do and nothing else? Or was it always assumed to be that way?
I can't remember a point. I felt like I always knew that I wanted to. I think possibly also, I'm looking at myself having a lag. Is that annoying to you? Are you getting the lag thing?
Okay, yeah.
Are you okay?
It sometimes catches up. It seems to be okay, yeah.
I feel, partly possibly because my mum is from LA, and so I grew up also thinking about Hollywood and those kind of things. We came across to California kind of regularly because my grandparents were here and cousins and things. So I was always pretty sure that that's what I was going to do. And various things happened. I was ill for a couple of months when I was 14. While I was in the States, I got hepatitis from actually a school trip to France. And I don't know if you know much about that illness, but you sleep almost all the time. And when I was not sleeping, I watched episodes of I Love Lucy on the couch at my grandparents'. And I think that also really impacted me because I could see the value of comedy. I think when you're ill, it really lifts you out of where you are. So there were contributing factors, but I can't remember one specific thing.
Yeah, yeah. But you went to drama school, yes?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that was a real shock.
Was that in Edinburgh or Aberdeen or Glasgow? Was it?
Glasgow. Yeah.
Glasgow,
It was called, at that time it was the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, but I think in the last few years it's changed to the National Conservatoire or Conservatory or something. But yeah, that was a shock because you sort of think you're an amazing actor and then you come into drama school and everyone's also thinking that. You know, I remember being quite startled at that and quite humbled and quite like, oh, you know, because obviously, I'm sure, did you go to drama school?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite hard to get in. You audition and all that, you know. Getting in, you think, okay, that's it. You know, basically, this is, you know, first year was. Yeah. It's like 3 years here, Oscar, whatever, and then you get there, and it isn't. I mean, at least in the school that I went to, it's kind of a process of breaking you down out of that and then building you up. So it was a shock for sure the first year.
Yes, that doesn't happen when you're doing shows at school, does it? No.
I remember
approbation. Murray, at what point did you decide to go to Paris? What took you to Paris? Out of that you finished drama school, yes, but then you went to Paris to study mime. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, what happened was I love Paris. I'd gone there just on a family vacation, you know, for like a couple of days during a European sort of thing that I'd done when I was about 17. And then I went with my mum on my 21st birthday. And so I had this thing about Paris, and I had decided between my second and third year of drama school that I would spend the summer in Paris. But I didn't know anyone in Paris. I didn't really know how I was going to pull that off. And somebody at a party in Glasgow had said, oh, that guy over there is French. So I went to speak to him and I said, do you know anyone in Paris? And he said, yes, my sister lives in Paris. So I phoned her up with my French dictionary and said, you know, could I stay with you for the summer? And she was a student too. And she said, yes. So what happened was then I was doing a play in Germany beside Munich in the Black Forest. And then I took the train from Munich to Paris, and I arrived the day of the World Cup final. In fact, when France won against Brazil in 1998. And I got there the morning, and I mean, it was an amazing day to get there. But basically, in that summer, I did a mime course in Paris for a month. And I just felt, I love the city. And also, I've always been really interested in movement. I'm not a singer, per se. You know, I've just been doing a cabaret where I sing, but that's not I'm much more into the physicality. So when I loved the mime course so much, when I came back to drama school, 2 of my movement teachers at RSAMD and one of my acting teachers had gone to Jacques Le Coq. So a lot of the movement that I'd had in drama school was based on those principles. So they were very encouraging of, well, why don't you go? Also, Faye Le Coq, who was married to Jacques Le Coq, she had gone to my school in Glasgow, RSAMD. She was Scottish. So there's quite a big tradition of a link there. So I went. It took me a year to raise the money for it, though. So it's kind of, you know, it wasn't an easy thing just to do. But
no, but I mean, that speaks to a really strong ambition in that direction. You know, I'm interested, you know, because I mean, as an actor myself, the idea of movement and mime and all that, you know, or hasn't appealed to me. The idea, be actually doing the stuff, actually being on the stage, is, it's like, oh my Lord, do I have to do that now? You know, after all the good work, after the rehearsal and all the rest of it, you've got to go out there. But that's what you seem to be chasing, is that I need to be on the stage. I need to be demonstrating something.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's really interesting to me, I'm fascinated by movement. There was a teacher that I actually had, somebody in Germany before that I'd met, who told me about the mime course. She and I had coffee, and she said, just look around you. You know, people were walking past us in the street, and she said, look how many people have their right leg slightly turned out. And it's become, I mean, not an obsession. I've not got OCD looking at people's right legs. But when you look at people and you notice how much information they're giving off totally unconsciously by how they're out, how they are physically, I'm really fascinated about that. And I think in life I am, but also for characters, what a richness that you can give by adding that. I mean, the mime that I did for a month was, it's called, well, it was abstract mime. I guess it was like the Picasso to Leonardo da Vinci or something. Like it was an abstraction of mime, and we had to do solo pieces at the end of the month. And I did, it had to be based on you putting on some clothes or some boots or something. And every movement you took to maybe zip your zipper up or something, you would have to change the speed and the level of what you were doing it. And I put on a pair of boots, and it took 28 movements to put it on. And I was just fascinated about all the detail that we have in life that we can overlook, and the richness that could go in. I think it would be if you were really fascinated by voice and the nuances you can find, obviously with accents, but also just the scale of your voice or what you're doing with that part of your body. For me, what's interesting to me is that information physically.
Yeah. Can I say, I mean, I think it all shows, Mari, you know, all that background, all that work. I mean, to somebody watching Tallulah or Pheasant Toast for the first time, you tend to take stuff that actors and actresses do for granted just a little bit, but all that work shows in that character. That's what makes it special, and that's what makes it so watchable and so blooming funny too.
Oh, thank you so much. I will be watching this on repeat on YouTube to make this.
Anyway, so welcome to all the folks that have joined us in the last 20 minutes. Thanks for joining Actor Chat. I'm Michael Bott. In the seat next to me is MHAIRI Morrison, speaking from LA, whose alter ego Tallulah Grace is the star of Feathers and Toast. For those what don't know, we'll talk more about that. You came back to London, and you had a pretty, what looks like, I don't know, you can go to IMDb. It tells an interesting story, but it can't tell the full story. What was your ambition? Did you want to do film and television, or did you find yourself more theatre-based?
Well, what happened was, when I left the school in Paris, Jacques Le Coq, I started a theatre company with one of the other girls that was in my class. And we started doing a lot of street theatre with, we had Commedia dell'arte masks, and we made buffoon costumes, and we had this, it was very artistic. It was very, creative. We got booked quite regularly throughout that first year. At the same time, I was really hustling work. You know, you come out of drama school and you're like, wow, I went to every production company, left resumes. I was just like a maniac with getting hustling, really. And although I really enjoyed the street theatre, at the end of that year of doing it, my friend Leticia, who I had the theatre company with, she was on the brink of, okay, let's apply for more grants and let's do this and that. And I had this real pivotal moment of thinking I could go down this track, and that would be me sort of establishing myself in France as maybe a regional thing. I don't know, it would have been very creatively rich. But I had recently signed with an agent in London, and was going back and forth on the Eurostar, which is challenging because you put so much weight then on a 5-minute audition because you've come from France. Even if it's just been 3 hours on the train, it's still...
Absolutely.
And so I really thought, no, I want to work with more directors. I do want to do film. I don't want to just straight away be out in the provinces with a mask, basically. And so I moved to London, and I worked really hard. I just really hustled and got moved up, got a bigger agent after a couple of years. And I suppose I didn't have any serious thing of I just want to do film or I just want to do TV. I wanted to work. And also what had happened was I'd auditioned for Lady Macbeth in Paris in French. And that was really a turning point too, because I love that part. And
did you have an ambition beyond just working? Was there something that really kept you going?
Yeah, Darren, well, obviously Oscar, clearly in the sights. The
glittering prizes.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many directors that I wanted to work with, but the thing was, I think what happened, the thing that can be frustrating, I don't know whether this has happened to you in your career, but where you have this sensation coming out of drama school that it's going to be difficult, but you're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and get there. And when that works, that sort of attitude for a few years and things start to shift and happen, and then a TV show doesn't come out when it was scheduled to, that was going to be, me and my agent thought, oh, this is going to be the thing. And then the movie that, so you start to sort of think, oh, this isn't as sort of linear. I mean, not linear, but
it's a bit lumpy.
Yes. And apparently that's par for the course, but you never think that's going to be par for your course.
Yeah, for sure. What were the, in those years, before you moved to LA, what were the standout moments for you, standout jobs, stuff you loved?
Well, for sure, the best experience I had on film was doing O Jerusalem, which is a film about the beginning of Israel, because it was incredible to do something so historical, and also an amazing opportunity. We were filming in Rhodes for several months, so the Greek islands are so beautiful, and to work with it was Eli Shiraki who was the director, and it was just humbling because some of the tanks that we had were shipped across from Israel, and so we were really able to we had guns. They had people from the Israeli army there advising us on stuff, so it was an amazing opportunity. That was
and Ian Holm?
Yeah, Ian Holm played Ben Gurion, and that was the first day that I was shooting. He was giving a rallying the troops kind of speech, which was, he did it 4 or 5 times, and each single time was totally different. It was just amazing. It gave me goosebumps. I still can picture it totally. He was a phenomenal actor. Yeah.
They are the special moments, those, when they happen. It's very difficult to describe. It's the wonder of filming sometimes, or being on stage, those special moments that take you there. Yeah. So I don't want to skip too fast, but we need to get to LA. What took you over the water?
Well, I think because I have an American passport, because my mum is from Los Angeles, I always thought at one point I would move back to the States. I had lived in New Jersey for a couple of years when I was 16. I finished high school in the States in New Jersey, and I thought I would move to New York, actually. I had a flight booked to New York, and then my agent, Kate at Curtis Brown, said, you should go to LA. I've got more contacts there, and I've got family in LA. So I came to LA, and I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy it, because my experience here fleetingly had been like, it was hard to have a serious conversation. Everyone was like, oh my God, there was up a sort of octave in their speaking level. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to fit in here. But I love the energy here. It's sort of like the Wild West, and you feel that anything can happen. It's been a challenge. I've been here 6 years, and when I first moved here, I thought, well, it'll be easier than Paris because I speak English. And initially in France, my French wasn't that great, but it was a serious challenge here. It's so spread out.
Was it you mentioned that your agent, had words to say in that. Was that a contributing factor, that you felt your agent your current agent was able to give you support over this over in LA? Yeah.
She was a little bit, but also she said, honestly, for New York, the main thing is going to be musical theater and Broadway. And I'm not sure if she's correct in that. I have never lived in New York to know that, but she said, in her opinion, LA is more your thing. Because I'm not a singer, I'm not a musical theater person, so I wouldn't be trying out for those things in New York. So I thought, okay, she knows, and so I came here. Literally, I had $8,000 in a sandwich bag in my handbag, and I had 12 names on a bit of paper, and that's how I began. It was daunting because I came here without a job to go to or a college course or anything solid. It was just, okay, now I have to make my life.
Yeah. And that is it. I use the phrase throwing your cap over the wall when you make a move like that.
Yeah.
Do you have any words for other people thinking about the possibility of making that move? What the things to watch out for? What investment you really need to make in order. What do you need to put in the pot in order to make it worthwhile?
Well, I think it's been very turbulent. I have found it like I feel like Alice in Wonderland. I'm pretty open and pretty believing in people, and I always want to be that person. I don't want to become cynical, but in LA, it's been challenging to work out. I feel like I'm looking at the Cheshire Cat in a lot of times where you're like, wow, what do you actually mean? So I would say the most important thing is this is probably going to sound very LA to say this, but it's to get yoga or meditation or some sort of serious practice in your life where you can retain your sense of self, because it's very confrontational, Los Angeles. For some, I don't know, there's so many people come here like me, with their hope and their dream, and they're so single-minded. It's like a fire here. Because also, think about it, Los Angeles has only grown to this size of a city in the last 80 or 90 years. So that energy, that new energy, is pretty unique compared to London or New York or Paris. It's much more of an established, organically grown city. But this place has sprung up really fast, which means the overriding energy is not one of anxiety, but it is a single-minded ambition, which I'd never experienced before. And obviously you get people of varying ethical, moral standards, honestly, who at all costs want whatever they want to get from here. So it's peculiar, for sure. You have to have a good sense of that balance, rootedness.
If anybody wants to, Serene, I know you're very interested in the subject. If anybody wants to ask a particular question about the subject of leaping over the ocean and going to LA, feel free to hop in or ask a direct question of MHAIRI. But MHAIRI, when you went to LA, did you have thoughts of doing stand-up?
No, I didn't know what I basically, at the time where I left London, was at a time where the recession was it was challenging to get work. Honestly, you're building a career, and then the TV kind of was a bit shaky. Then the TV people went to theatre, the sort of sliding scale. And so when I got to LA, I sort of thought, LA is a mecca and I have to go there. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel compelled to go there. And when I got here after a month, I met a London comedy producer who had written for people like Rob Brydon and people like that, Michael McIntyre at the beginning of their careers.
Awesome, sure.
And so he said, look, do stand-up. And so I did my first 8-minute gig with nothing written, because he said, just
hang on. He said, do stand-up, so you did it.
Yes.
Just like that.
you know, as he was like, look, try it, just do it. I probably would never have had the nerve to try it in London because I've got good friends who are comics and I feel like, well, that's not my world. But there's some liberation when you move somewhere new. You think no one knows.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
You know, there's no expectation. What's the worst that can happen? And so I just did it. And I tell you, I'm so grateful for it because it is so hard in one way, but in another way, it's so liberating. Because you can just get up and do it. You don't need an audition, your agents, anyone else to be involved. You stand by your laurels, which for me...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, it's kind of the simplicity of how acting began. You know, when you think about Commedia dell'arte coming into a town centre and you have to entertain your people or you don't eat. And I love that. Basically, taking it where it began.
Fortune favours the brave. I think it's a case of. John asked, do you have more than a green card now?
Well, do you know what?
More than a green card?
I was just typing that. I have an American passport because my mum.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No. I've got it. Yeah. So, how long were you in? How long were you over there before thoughts of? How did Feathers and Toast come about? How did Tallulah Grace grow?
Well, again, very slowly and very organically. It came after somebody had seen my stand-up who works at Paramount, and he'd taken me for lunch to talk about what I was doing in LA and what I wanted to achieve. And I said, I want my own half-an-hour show, and I want to film on Paramount because since I Love Lucy and I love Audrey Hepburn, and there's just such a romance for me with Paramount Studios. I was very specific, and he said, why don't you do a show about a mime artist, something a little like Seinfeld, where you see him doing his stand-up comedy and then you actually see the rest of his life. And after the lunch, this man, my friend Gideon, turned around and he said, I just want to see you succeed. And it was so poignant and calm and heartfelt, which... At that point, it's so hard to sort of get people like that to say anything like that in LA. You know, it's a lot of other, I don't know, it's so humble where he said it. And I thought, I'm going to do this. And I've never created a TV show or anything like that. So it took me 6 months to have an idea. And I was literally, when I cook for myself, I speak out loud in French because I want to keep my French up. So I do in the kitchen, I speak out loud. And I had a dance teacher that said, you can always dance in your kitchen. So I was doing that one night and I thought, hang on a minute, this might be the interesting beginnings of a character. So it literally grew from that. And then I filmed myself a lot doing stuff and I sent the rehearsals to a couple of directors who I'd worked with and I started developing the character. But I didn't ever shoot it as a web series. I mean, I shot season 1, which is essentially, I was going to animate a pitch. I thought I'll just show a character in 6 episodes to show how I could see the evolution of this woman. And that's what that was. And then I met an agent who had been at CAA and at that point had transitioned. CAA is one of the biggest agents here in Los Angeles. And at that point was working with YouTube talent. And he said, look, just put it out on the internet and start cultivating a following. So I did that. Easier said than done, cultivate a following. You know, it's obviously, I mean.
I was going to ask you about that, you know, because, easier said than done if you've not really approached it before. But the two things it's all very well having an idea and a wonderful thing, but using what's available to promote it. So the interesting thing is that Tallulah grew out of an actual request. You were actually in the space of looking for something to fulfill something that somebody had suggested, and it popped up out of that, you know, creation. That's interesting, because we often the important thing is having a focus when you want inspiration. I always think waiting for things to plop out of nowhere to give you the inspiration to get up and go. You have to have some kind of space to welcome things into before they gel and take hold. Yeah, I was going to ask you, talk about the making of a pad thai.
It isn't actually a pad thai. It's Jamie Oliver's curry recipe, but I got it mixed up on the spot. There's actually like nuts to have a pad thai, and there weren't a nut in sight. Yeah, obviously don't follow that if you want to eat dinner that night. It's funny for some people in America who have seen, what's interesting about comedy is it's obviously very different. British comedy is very different from American, and and I do think that my comedy is more British, possibly. That's when I think of what shows I really love. Primarily, they are British comedy, basically. And so it's been interesting seeing the American reaction to the show, because some people really do think it's a cooking show. And they really do. They think that, and I'm just happy that they're watching it. But it is interesting to think, oh, that's amazing, taking it at face value rather than seeing, which I don't want to diminish anyone or make anyone feel bad. I just want them to watch it, but it is funny.
Yeah, but as we've been doing these shows, Mari, the subject of social media has been a hot topic, about how actors use it, whether they're, and of course filmmakers use it, whether they're developing a film, they're crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, all that kind of thing. And you had to, in order for the whole thing to work, you had to learn pretty quickly.
Oh my word, yeah, it was a real challenge. Got books out of the library.
As you do.
Yeah. I got a book out on how to do Twitter. And I felt like, what am I doing? I don't know what, I feel old, basically, because I didn't understand all the hashtags and stuff. And then I met this guy called John Avnet, who is a big director. He directed things like Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, things like that. And him and his son now do a very successful YouTube channel called Wigs that's all about drama for women. It's quite starry. They have Julia Stiles and various big name actors in it, but it's doing really well. And I remember meeting him about a year and a half ago, and I sort of was like, oh, do you find social media is taking up a lot of time? And he said, yeah, but don't you love it? And because I didn't want to appear negative and go, oh no, it's a knife, I said, yeah, I do love it. I do. And I woke up in the morning thinking, how can I love this? And I thought, well, I'm just going to see it as an improvisation. It's just not a camera, but it's still. So for Feathers and Toast, I really do tweet as Tallulah, and then I can enjoy it because I feel like I am improvising, and it's just there's not a camera, but I'm still developing her.
It is fascinating that if you can take on a slight alter ego, it is terribly liberating, isn't it? What does that say about us as people sometimes? But you do it, and you do it extremely well, and you've got high production values on your vlogs. Of course, you're a good exemplar of getting it right and keeping it going and keeping standards high as well.
Well, that's kind of you to say. Thank you, Michael. I feel because I haven't gone viral, it's so nice to have somebody say something nice about my social media.
Something I was astounded with, you've recorded series 2 of Feathers and Toast now. And of course, I can't remember, I must have read it this morning or something like that, that you got them all done in one day.
Yeah. Yeah, we did 8 episodes in one day.
Yeah.
Which was...
That's...
So there's the delay. So I basically shot one episode in 45 minutes, which was a challenge because obviously season 1 was just me. Season 2, there were other actors, and I did write a script, but I didn't script the dialogue. I just basically wrote the bullet points of what we needed to cover in each episode. And then I just went for it. And it was amazing because a lot of what season 2 is just one take. We very rarely even cut it. So that's a testament really to the other actors that came in, especially, well, for example, the French cabaret dancer, her English didn't even really know what the hell was going on. You know, who plays Marge, was really amazing, because I had a very clear idea of what I wanted in my head, of somebody just effectively being a bit of a scared lump. And that's really hard to say to an actor. Can you please just do that? Also, don't really speak much and let me shine, basically, as Tallulah's going to take over. So I didn't know what to expect, and I was just blown away. Felt like I was really, really fortunate.
It's glorious, and I recommend, if nobody's seen Feathers and Toast yet, hop over. And well, if I've still got it, I might have it still. Yes, I do. I can. It was still in my copy and paste thing, so I was able to bang the link into the feed there. So, having recorded it, I mean, I don't know. What's the day-to-day? No, I'll tell you what I was going to ask you. That is about improvisation, because I mean, it seems effortless to you. Has it always been that way? Has improvisation always... I wouldn't say easy, can't be ever easy, but you wear it well. Have you always done that?
Thank you. I don't know whether I've always, I suppose there's always been, I've always had fun doing it. I think why I love doing what I'm doing with Tallulah so much is because I really know the character so well that it feels like it does now feel like I can put her anywhere. Like I just last year had a residency with the French cabaret company here, and I hosted the show as Tallulah, and I had to sing a song in French for 5 minutes. And that was a real fear for me, because I had been told throughout my life I can't sing. And even when I was in drama school, having to sing a solo every week, it was horrific for everyone involved. And, you know, real fear for me when they approached me and said, could you sing? And I said, look, it's not going to be Celine Dion. Like, I have to make this funny. And they had a song that they wanted me to do, this 1960s song that's almost like a French rap. It's really, really fast. And much in the way that Tallulah makes a pad thai, that's how I was going to be singing. Like, you know, I mean, but she thinks that she's brilliant, just as Tallulah thinks she's brilliant as a cook. You know, she has this blind spot, obviously. She'll never see that she can't quite do it. She thinks she's great at everything. So I had to do that, and that was really interesting to be able to do that as Tallulah, because I thought I just have to, can I pull this off the bat out of the hat? But so for me, Tallulah, I know her now so well that to improvise is just a joy out of that. I think if I was to improvise without Tallulah, there'd be good bits and bad bits, but I do really enjoy it. I mean, it's interesting. I had a conversation with a writer about 6 months ago, and he was completely against improvisation. And he said, no, how can that be the best you can do? Because like the first draft of a script is never my best script. You know, that's what he was saying. And it takes a while to hone the language. And I said, but for me, that when you really know a character and you know what you need to get from a scene, to have that freedom to take it other places is just so exhilarating as an actor that I want to be able to see where that goes. And especially when you're with other people in it, you don't know what's going to happen. I didn't know, for example, with episode 5, with the melodrama and the cat episode, how sad I was going to feel when I got fed up with the cat. I knew I wanted to go down, it'd be a dramatic moment, but when I look at it now, it just looks so sad. Didn't realize that.
I love it. It's funny. It's a subject I think we could talk about for a long time. But improvisation, getting a skill with improvisation, is that a question of pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone? Because it always seems as a scary thing, like as stand-up, but you can't do it until you do it. There's a certain amount of, as I say, pushing of the comfort zone to be able to stand apart and have confidence.
Yeah, for sure. I think I mean, with Tallulah, it's just knowing her so well and being able to just then, I mean, actually, I do remember shooting season 1, episode 1, and they just set up the camera and we were just about to go. And I thought, I have nothing in my head. I don't know what's about to happen. I have no idea. I know there's kale and I'm wearing a feather boa and something must happen. But for me personally, that's been the most exciting moments of my career. Even when I was doing Oh Jerusalem, there was a really difficult scene, which obviously was scripted, but it was a really challenging scene of my character come all the way to Jerusalem to find my love, my fiance. And I see our mutual friend, and I have to gauge from my friend's expression that my fiance's died, been killed the night before. And that was so alarming because it was such an obviously dramatic scene. And the director was amazing. He said, look, just do whatever you want to do. I'm going to follow you with the Steadicam shot. So just, and it was so scary to me, but then trusting the director and it's, I just felt that that was a moment of magic because he let me do whatever I wanted to feel in the moment. And for me, that's what improvisation is in a way, like knowing and then feeling comfortable, almost allowing your head to go blank and then allowing something to happen.
Yeah, that's thank you. Yeah, I confess I've seen the clip, Mary. It's great.
Thank you.
It's a lovely piece of acting.
Thank you so much.
It's gorgeous. So, has Feathers and Toast become the focus, or what are your goals beyond?
Well, yes, it has become the focus. I spent the last month. Oh, is there a delay? Yeah. Basically, yeah, I want to have the half-an-hour show of Feathers and Toast. So I spent January.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
And that's going to be called Tallulah Darling. And that is basically Tallulah putting on her show, Feathers and Toast. So that's where we want to go with that. And we're just starting to, we spent the month working out the pitch, which we're still working out. And we wrote the half-an-hour script. And now we're working out how to pitch, basically how to get in the room and how to pitch the half-an-hour show. But that's really what I want to, I really want to do that. I want to see Tallulah there. In Paramount, darling, where I wanted to go from 3 years ago. I feel like the year has been edging towards it one day. But my friend in Paramount said that Tony Shalhoub, I think that's how to pronounce his last name, he shot Monk. There's an amazing comedy called Monk. Well, not really comedy, but yeah, it is a bit of a comedy.
Yeah.
And he used to cycle to Paramount to shoot Monk. And as soon as my friend told me that years ago, I thought, I want to do that. I want to live close to Paramount. I want to cycle, ring my bell, and arrive to play Tallulah.
Well, having a goal like that with that precision is, I'm sure, work wonders. Do you get many auditions for other things off the back of Feathers and Toast?
Some things that have happened off the back of that. I think within the web series world, I've had more conversations with other creators. The thing that has been amazing about, I mean, listen, to be honest, when I came to LA, one of the names on a bit of paper that I had was the name of a casting director, and I met him for a general, and then we ended up falling in love, and I moved in with him. And we lived together for a couple of years when I first moved to LA. It's classic cliche situation, one would imagine. First rocks up, meets casting director. And I only bring that up because to live with an LA casting director, probably like living with a London casting director, it can be a bit bleak because you see him casting an episodic and you see 2,000 submissions and you're just looking at 100 thumbnails per page.
Wow.
And, you know, this guy said to me, look, you've got to push your comedy and you've got to create your own stuff. And he was a huge supporter of me doing my own stand-up. And he said, comedy will give you longevity because you're creating a world for yourself that would be harder to replicate for somebody else to do. So I've always really thought about that. And I'm a mad reader of biographies and autobiographies, people like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin and Mary Pickford, and people that not only were incredible artists, but also pioneered within the business field, really. And that's what I am intrigued and drawn to create something that is more solid and not just stepping into someone else's shoes and someone else's vision. I wanted to create a vehicle and something more substantial. Yeah. Gosh, I sound like a megalomaniac, but, you know.
Well, good luck to you, Mari. And I think it's about time we should think about wrapping up now, because even with the gap in the middle, we've been going for quite a while. And we've had quite a few people watching, which is great. And I'm sure many more people will want to watch the recording. I'll cut the middle bit out. But thank you so much, Mari. Actually, it's been for me an inspiration, and I hope for other people an inspiration, in that, you know, when you do throw the cap over the wall, when you do push the boundaries, and when you do get clear about where you're going, and you have the courage to throw your energy behind that, what can happen and what can be created. So my hat off to you, and lots of other people's hats off to you, I hope.
Thank you so much, especially bringing up the word hat, which is one of my favorite things in the world. Just glance at my hat collection.
Okay.
For inviting me on. It's been amazing, and I'm sorry that I disappeared for 20 minutes. I don't know what happened. Thanks again to Heidi that I got back, because she said everything's going on without you. I thought everyone else was dark, and I was so thank you so much, and good luck with you. I look forward to participating, watching more of your actor chats, because you
brilliant. Love to have you back. Thanks for that. So thank you everybody for watching, people that have contributed. That's great. Hopefully see you on Actor Chats tomorrow. We've got 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock on Friday. And feel free to drop in and keep your eye out for what's happening next with Actor Chat. So thank you, Mari. Thank you, everybody. And I'm going to stop the recording now. Bless you.